All right. So the power is back up. We are back up and running. We had a little bit of Mother Nature getting involved there with, took out the power away from us. So I can't believe that's how people used to live before Thomas Edison. So shout out to Thomas Edison. And let's get back into it. So I do believe this is like 30, 40 minutes after that whole fiasco. So I think we were talking about Florida Atlantic and Memphis. That game was incredible. I was just getting very weird vibes from it. Memphis had some weird players. They had some dude who had like a kid, and he was in the crowd, like a Jason Tatum style. They had one guy who was 26 years old, which is just weird to see a 26-year-old playing college basketball. Like that is a man. I'm sorry, that's not a kid. That's a man. And how did he even stay in college for that long? That's like 8 years in college.
I don't know. Probably, if I had to assume, like an August or September birthday. So when he got there, he was like 19. Or he did the late start thing. And so like when he was a senior in high school, he was 19. And then got to college as a 20-year-old. 4 years, transfer year, COVID year. I guess that's 6 right there. So, I mean, there's like that one Oregon player who has, I think this will be his 9th year of college football. So shout out to him, that tight end for Oregon. So
I know who you're talking about. I can't think of his name, but
yeah,
he's
incredible. No-name. He's a no-name. So
yeah, this might be a little. It might be racist. It's not meaning to be racist, but the Memphis team was giving me incredible like ghetto vibes. That makes any sense at all. These guys were I don't even know why. It was just the vibes. It was bad vibes from Memphis. Penny Hardaway tosses his water bottle at the end, which, they might have gotten screwed by the refs, so whatever. But still an incredible game, wild ending, wild sequence of events. And whenever you have chaos at the end of the game, you're going to have the refs be involved and blamed for it. So, but yeah, that was a great game, obviously, to advance to play Fairleigh Dickinson. So that was awesome. And then the second round, man, it just seems so weird getting back into this after what just happened. But second round, I don't think there was a much that happened. Tennessee destroyed Duke. We both had Duke as a lock. They got destroyed. So yeah,
there were some interesting things that Miami felt like they kind of laid the hammer down on Indiana. Houston against Auburn, close game throughout until Houston just suffocated Auburn like a cobra. What else here? Oh, Archie over Kansas. That was pretty wild. So yeah. Let's just. I want to talk about
before the Mizzou.
Yeah, so me and Luke, we're watching Princeton Mizzou, and this is how I'll put it. So we weren't able to enjoy the Kansas loss whatsoever because Mizzou lost before Kansas. Even though the Kansas game ended before the Mizzou-Princeton game, Princeton had already killed Mizzou by the time Kansas was out of that game. Because it was literally tied for Kansas and Archie down the stretch while Princeton just buried us. So we weren't able to enjoy that. But in terms of rooting interest, obviously, Luke's Cats got knocked out first round. And then Princeton took out Mizzou. So Princeton is enemy number one right now, by the way. And then for me...
They own me.
They do kind of own Luke right now. It's kind of no, I'm not going to get into it. In terms of the other things, Duke got bounced by Tennessee, which I had Duke in my Final Four. Voodoo does work, folks. It does work. Duke is dead. It was beautiful. It was so enjoyable. It's so weird because, I do take pride in trying to have a good bracket, but it's March Madness. Everybody's bracket falls apart. But when you just pick Duke to go that far, and you just know that in the back of your head, you're like, oh, yeah, this is going to put some extra voodoo on them. and it did. And the same with Kansas, and it's just so beautiful. Like I said, we weren't able to enjoy the Kansas loss really, but the Duke one happened, and it was just nice. It was just nice, very comforting, the way they died. So
I'll take that back. I was able to enjoy the Kansas loss because I've been a Kansas hater all year. Kansas is the defending champs. They were a 1 seed, and they had all these expectations on them. Mizzou was picked, I think, like 9th or 10th in the SEC. They finished 4th, and they got to the tournament as a 7 seed and won a game. So they went the exact same distance as Kansas, despite having way less expectations. So that's kind of a win for Mizzou, even though they got blown out by Kansas at the beginning of the year. But I took pride in that because I didn't take pride, but I took joy in watching the Kansas game because I was just so distraught with the Mizzou loss that having a little bit of positivity it cheered me up a little bit. So it made the Mizzou loss not as hard. So I will say that. Shout out to Arkansas.
Yeah, one thing I will appreciate from Arkansas is Arkansas is up there as one of my most hated teams right now as a Mizzou fan, and always has been. Same with football. But shout out to Arkansas because they kind of did do the Lord's work here a little bit in the tournament. Took out Illinois, another, Mizzou rival, and then they also took out Kansas. So thank you to Arkansas and John Daly. John Daly was present at their funeral tonight against UConn. Like I said, tough scene in that game. They got obliterated, but I digress. So thank you to Arkansas. And I understand your point about Kansas losing and the defending champs, but for me, I do acknowledge that this Mizzou season was awesome, and it was just great to win a game. But also losing to a 15 seed, like the whole day, I was just like, okay, we just got to get past a 15 seed. And the last time we played a 15 seed didn't go so well, but I've got faith this time. And it was never close. So
I think the why you felt that way, because normally Mizzou, you wouldn't feel that way, but Mizzou had no quad 2, quad 3, or quad 4 losses the entirety of the year. And Princeton is nowhere near quad 1. So that's where you're thinking, okay, well, Mizzou they lose these games a lot, but not this year because they haven't this year. And then they did. So unlike Arizona has been upset many times this year. Washington State at home, Oregon killed us. Utah killed us. So it's just like some of these random, not very good teams just absolutely obliterated Arizona. So I wasn't shocked. It hurt to see the result, but I wasn't shocked because I had seen it happen all year. Mizzou, I was shocked because they got dominated by Princeton. And the only teams that Mizzou was really dominated by all year was Alabama and Kansas. And those are obviously 2 1 seeds. So it was very shocking to see that happen.
Yeah. Although this year, I will say this, when Mizzou loses, they lose bad. That was one thing, like when they would lose to an SEC conference play, like Texas A&M, they would just wreck them. And there was a couple other teams, like if it wasn't, Mizzou either kept it wire to wire close and they would somehow pull it out, or they would just get crushed. So, yeah. And either way, you're fixing to get dominated
very often
by Creighton or Bama. So, yeah,
exactly. The end of the line was soon. So you didn't want it to be like that, but it was.
Yeah.
So. And then the rest of the day, Texas eked out a win over Penn State. UCLA survived against Northwestern. Shout out those 2 schools for putting up a fight against the 2 seeds. And then Alabama they had their way with Maryland. Any other thoughts on that day? That was a great day of college basketball.
Yeah. Bama is, how do I say it? They're hitting their stride right now. And that's all you can really say about it is that, I almost made 2 killing jokes, but That's all I'm going to say is Alabama is just on a roll right now. The Tide are rolling. And I think San Diego State, I don't think San Diego State's going to win, but I think it'll be nice. Like San Diego State is going to be able to kind of like slow down the pace a little bit, back to reality a little bit maybe. Otherwise, it might be like 90 to like 62, something like that. But San Diego State's good enough to where they can slow that pace down and maybe keep it somewhat close, within like the 15 to 10 point range, I guess. So
I don't know. San Diego State doesn't really move the needle with me, though.
I guess that would be my lock, probably up there.
That'd be mine too.
So,
which is weird to have a lock this late into the tournament, but
yeah, exactly. It's so much harder to do locks. It's hard to do locks in the round of 32. So
you can almost lock in Alabama to make the Final Four, because Creighton could give them a fight. Creighton could give them a run for their money, but they're going to destroy San Diego State, and if Princeton beats Creighton, that's going to that's going to be sad. Watching these killers getting up on these Ivy League scholars. So that Alabama, can we say they made the Final Four officially? Can we officially announce it? Alabama to the Final Four?
If we want to put some voodoo.
I'm going to announce it. That's the point. I'm going to announce it. Alabama to the Final Four. I'll clap it up for them. Congratulations to Alabama for being good at basketball and football.
There we go.
Alabama makes the Final Four in basketball, but not football this year. A very interesting scenario.
Yeah.
And then on Sunday, games got really interesting. Xavier just from the get-go just put Pitt in their place, and then put Pitt in the armpit, to say the least. If that makes any sense. And then Kansas State played a really good game against Kentucky. Kansas State, this is back-to-back good games because they just beat Michigan State in overtime. They played Kentucky in an incredibly good game. This team is so fun to watch. They may be my team throughout. But they played Kentucky back and forth game, eked it out, and Marquise Noel just took over that game. And then Michigan State beat Marquette. Marquette was frauds. I was right when I felt the unease putting them in my Final Four. It didn't feel right, and this is exactly why it didn't feel right. But I still did it. I'm wrong. So, UConn second halves have been amazing. They dominated Iona in the second half. They dominated St. Mary's in the second half. UConn is like a sneaky, really good team. They might win it all, but then they always have like that one player too. Like,
is it really sneaky?
Kodiak Kemba. And
I don't know who their one player is though. I mean, they have Sanago is playing probably the best big man play right now, besides if you want to call Brandon Miller a big man. So
more forward.
He's like 6'11" though, or 6'10". I feel like maybe he's 6'9". I don't know.
He is tall. He's like he kind of reminds me of Kevin Durant.
Yeah, but different athlete kind of feel. If you just type in Brandon Miller, the first thing that comes up is Brandon Miller gun.
Of course,
6'9". 6'9". Probably 6'10" with shoes on, and if he has the fro looking thing, not the fro, but like the taller hair thing going, he's like 6'11" and a half.
Yeah, but also fun thing to note, Cam, is that out of that stat that I gave you last week, where the last like 25 title winners have had a top 20 offense, defense, and some number of field goal shooting, only one of those teams lost on the first weekend, and that was Kansas. So all the other teams are still in. UConn actually advanced, so they moved on. So UConn is one of those teams.
Creighton, or Bama.
So they're moving on. And then in the nightcap, Florida Atlantic held on to beat Fairleigh Dickinson. Fairleigh Dickinson fought hard again. Shout out to them, every single player on that team. They just played their hearts out. And I want to give a personal thanks for letting me watch them play basketball, because it was truly an honor. And then Creighton handled Baylor. They handled them. I've been a Baylor guy, but I forget that this is not the same Baylor team from 2 years ago. So they don't have a lot of those same players.
Yeah, that team had a lot of NBA talent. This one not as much, and but kind of just what you said. I mean, Coach Drew, I mean, it seems like they always make it close at least because Baylor just has the talent and the coaching. Creighton, I mean, I think it was like it kind of got close at the end, but it really wasn't. You know, it was just kind of like trash comeback points. Creighton had them the whole way. This was a kind of game that just kind of reared the head of the Big East this year. I mean, it's pretty damn good. You know, even with the teams that are losing, you know, the Marquette was the best team in the Big East in terms of the regular season, and they're already knocked out. But Creighton, Xavier still alive, and UConn, obviously. I mean, 3 Sweet 16 teams. Pretty damn good, man.
One of them in the Elite Eight.
Pretty damn good. Yeah, one Elite Eight already punched in. I mean, I can see at least – I want to take Creighton over Princeton. I mean, me and Luke going to be rooting hard against the Tigers of Princeton. So
yeah, I hate them. So I said that I hated them more than Kansas and Arizona State on a tweet. That is also not true. I'll hate them this year. But next year, when next year rolls around, the Kansas and Arizona State hate just ramps right back up. So, but we have to keep in mind that only one 16 seed is advanced to the Elite Eight, and they advance by playing Purdue. So, not likely that this happens.
15.
So, that actually might be my luck. Isn't that what I said?
You said 16, but it's all right.
Oh, well, there's been no 16 seeds that have advanced to the Elite Eight. Miami had their way with
Indiana,
Trace Jackson Davis. And then Gonzaga TCU, the final game of the weekend, was an awesome game, to say the least. Gonzaga, when they turned it on in the final 5 minutes, Drew Timme played amazing. He tied an NCAA record, and then TCU had a miraculous shot to cover the spread at the end of the game. Mixed emotions, depending on what side you're on of that bet. But that was a very good game. And then the winner of that takes on UCLA in about, approximately right now. So that is going to be maybe the game of the round, Gonzaga UCLA.
I think so. Great color matchup, too. So good. Oh, my gosh, what was I just about to say? Oh, one thing about Princeton is, since, you know, as a Mizzou fan and as an Arizona fan for you, one thing about Mizzou is when they lost to Norfolk State, Norfolk State is embedded into my memory. And Princeton is a much bigger school than Norfolk State, and I still just hate Norfolk State. Whenever they're playing football or basketball or baseball, I'm obviously not watching the Norfolk State game unless it's a conference tourney week. Then I might be, because it's just something that might happen in the sicko moments there. But but other than that, you know, I just see the score on the bottom line on ESPN or whatever. Always so happy to see them lose, see that school fail. And that's just the kind of thing that's left in my brain after that Mizzou loss to Norfolk State. Princeton is a much bigger school, and we're going to see them throughout the rest of our lives way more than we're going to see Norfolk State. Mm-hmm. And I'm just going to hate them, Luke. They can't really be redeemed for me unless the way that they could possibly be redeemed for me is maybe if they took out Duke. If
knock off Duke or Kansas.
A 2 seed or a 1 seed 1 year, you know, something like that. But other than that, they really can't be redeemed for me. So they're at the bottom of my Ivy League schools for presumably the rest of my life. That's just how it is.
Yep. Cam, your video is gone.
Yeah, well, better than a potato, I guess.
And it says your live video will return when internet improves. So that just seems to be the story of the night, just bad internet. So All right, and then before we get to football talk, we've already been talking about the NCAA tournament for a while now. I just want to. We could give our Final Four predictions real quickly here. I already said Alabama's in the Final Four. I'm gonna go out on a limb. I'm gonna say that Miami beats Houston tomorrow, and that leaves the door open for Texas to go to the Final Four. And then I'll say that Tennessee goes to a Final Four because why not? Rick Barnes, baby. No, you know what? Actually, I'm on the Kansas State train. I take that back. Kansas State to the Final Four. I gotta take them. And then UConn, Gonzaga, or UCL. Man, I'm gonna take UCLA, which could be bad if this comes out tomorrow morning and then UCLA is already eliminated. But I'll take them. I think that's it. I think that's all my UCLA, Texas, Alabama, and Kansas State.
I'm going to go with now my Midwest region. I'm going to have to think of something here because I don't have one yet to think of. I have Bama. So it looks like I'm looking down. It's because I'm looking at this piece of paper. I've got Bama. I'm going to go K-State. I'm going to go UConn. Man. I just don't know with Sasser being hurt, with Houston. And I like Coach Terry in Texas right now. Man. But, man, Xavier really put it on the other night.
Trust Xavier. Trust Xavier.
I'm kind of...
Sean Miller's too sweaty to advance.
I had a music teacher that went to Xavier that I didn't really get along with that much, so I'm not picking Xavier. So, I guess I'll stick with... I will not screw it. I'm going to go with Miami just because ACC.
All right. So we both have Miami beating Houston. That's not going to be a hot topic, but Miami matches up really well with Houston.
We said that at the beginning of the tournament, didn't we?
We said that at the beginning of the tournament. Yeah, and I think we both ended up picking Houston, but now we're just switching. We're just taking Miami because, I don't know, they kind of got the role. They're playing good defense. Their guard play has been insane, which is what you need to stop Houston, is good guard play. And as Kelvin Sampson, he put it in the words that Houston, they play like shit a lot. So,
yep,
it may be one of those days where that happens. So, and it's going to be hard to bounce back against the Miami team. All right, that's college basketball talk, man.
Yep, it's all about the U.
All right, you want to get into some NFL free agency news? Cam, I have no idea how far we are into this because this is our second recording. So
yeah,
if I had to estimate, I'd say about 40, 45 minutes.
Yeah, probably somewhere around there. We're going to do some quick NFL stuff. Now, some of this stuff is outdated, but we still just kind of have to talk about it. And there's actually been new stuff since even these notes have been updated. So we're just going to do a quick rundown. But we got Giants give Daniel Jones upwards, Luke, of $160 million for 4 years. I think we got to just stop and talk about that. He had a great season. $40 million, upwards of $40 million is a lot for Daniel Jones. A guy that they tried to run into the ground at the beginning of the season. Are they just going to stop doing that now? And then obviously Saquon's what are they doing with Saquon?
Free agent.
Exactly.
Yeah. Here's the thing with Daniel Jones is that, yes, he had a breakout year this year. What are they saying? Oh, he had a breakout year because of Brian Dable. Well, that sounds like it's a Brian Dable thing, right? Not a Daniel Jones thing. So it sounds like this position might be very easily replaceable, meaning that if Daniel Jones were to go somewhere else, the Giants could just draft someone and he'd fit right into the Brian Dable system. That's my opinion on it, is that Daniel Jones is not – I mean, he's not a bad quarterback. He doesn't turn the ball over.
It was his best year.
He used to fumble. Yeah, he used to fumble all the time, but this year he had a really good, ball protection year.
Yeah.
I think it might be a system position though that he's in right now.
Yeah. I guess maybe one way to look at it is for why they signed him and not go the route that you just talked about with drafting a rookie is because they're already a year into it. And then you basically have to have the same season that you had last year, if that makes any sense. You don't go forward. But then you would have a much cheaper quarterback. Although it would probably be a top 10 pick, and then that's actually not that cheap. So, but you would definitely be saving money over Daniel. Just interesting, to say the least. So, yeah. And then basically the same contract down in NOLA. Saints give Derek Carr 4 years, $150 million, and then just a couple of days ago, famous Jameis signed for I think $8 million to stay in NOLA as the backup, I guess. So that sucks. I'll be honest.
I don't. Where are the Saints getting this money from? Aren't they like $60 million below the salary cap? How can they sign someone for $150 million? That doesn't make any sense to me.
I don't know how they would be $160 million the $60 million to the cap. And also, they've been doing some stuff on the side. Like I just saw that they restructured Mike Thomas's contract because he barely ever steps foot on the field. Classic football score right here, 21-14. So I guess that's how they're doing it, but I don't really. I mean, who are they paying on the team, Luke? I mean, Cameron Jordan, Marshawn Lattimore. That's kind of it, I think, right?
Salary cap. Well,
Ryan
I just know that like
Ramczyk.
the Saints are NFL salary cap space. So the Bears have the most. Where are the Saints at? Oh, okay. They have $16 million cap space. Oh, maybe because the salary cap went up. Is that why?
I still just don't think they were below it.
They were negative.
I mean, who's on the team to make it negative? No offense to him.
Hey, Cam, I'm going to go on upstairs.
I don't know. I just remember hearing that they were like super low in cap space. So I guess I was wrong. I don't know where that came from. But yeah, they signed Derek Carr. I don't know. He's probably the best QB in that division now.
Yeah,
because Sam Darnold left. Sam Darnold's a 49 now.
No, I was going to say something about Baker Mayfield, but no.
He's not in the division either.
Yes, he is. He's a Buccaneer.
Yes, he is. He signed with the Buccaneers. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Competing with Kyle Trask for the job. So
yeah, and that's why we got to refresh ourselves. We got to refresh ourselves. The draft is right around the corner. A
month away.
Obviously, the Titans are looking to deal Derrick Henry, and the Rodgers trade talk really started to heat up last week after he went on the Pat McAfee show. We'll dive into that here in a little bit. And then, obviously, even weirder situation, Ballsack Sports and Twitter has Anthony Richardson pretty much as the number one draft pick. Ballsack Sports has pretty much by themselves, combined with Anthony Richardson's combine performance of jumping out the gym and whatnot, has rocketed him up boards in a hurry. We'll see if that actually comes to fruition on draft day, but that was some pretty funny
That would be so weird.
Yeah. But he's just such an athlete.
Existence.
And I'm in on AR-15. I told you this. I don't know how I'm in. I'm not saying I'm in to the point where I would take him over Bryce Young, who's my favorite in this draft, or even CJ Stroud. But I'm just saying I like how much of an athlete he is. It's so cool. But to see at the quarterback position. That's
another thing that has happened. Is that the Bears traded away the number one pick to the Panthers.
Oh,
The Bears get DJ Moore. Bears got a lot for that. They got the 8th or 9th pick in the draft. They got a first rounder next year and then a second rounder at some point, and then DJ Moore. So that was a haul that they got.
Yeah, that was pretty wild. The haul that they got. Jalen Ramsey to the Dolphins for tight end that you've never heard of and named Hunter Long and a third-round pick. So Sean McVay finally gets a draft pick. So good for him. Let's see here. Odell wants $20 million, but there was lots of reports today that he might be a Jet soon, Luke. So he might be back in the Big Apple here sooner rather than later. Elijah Moore got dealt to the Browns, or did he just sign there? I'm not sure if they dealt him or if he got just signed there.
They dealt him.
They dealt him. Okay.
I forget what the thing was, but yeah, he was traded to the Browns. So the Browns pick up another good receiver, low cost, like they did with Amari Cooper last year. They're getting Elijah Moore at a low cost. I think it was like a 5th or 6th round pick they got for him.
Well,
they're kind of low-key loading up at the receiver position.
The Jets also signed McCole Hardman today as well, to kind of fill that same role that Elijah Moore played. So, which wasn't much of one. God damn, was that the triple sneeze?
Yeah, it was. I was trying to desperately mute.
I saw you got the last one
mid-sneeze.
muted. You got the last one muted.
Yeah.
So shout out to Luke. There's been a couple of Zeke released by the Cowboys, and today he said he wants his old number 15 back. Reports are that he is looking between the Bengals, Eagles, and Jets as well. Jets are just making a super team in hopes that they get Rodgers. So not a bad play by them. We'll see if that comes to fruition as well, because and this is what we have been fixing to talking about, especially for Luke, a lifelong Packers fan and Aaron Rodgers fan. It looks like he's going to be a Jet after what he said on the Pat McAfee show. It looks like stuff's just being ironed out between the Packers and the Jets in terms of compensation for Aaron Rodgers, which might be heavy, to say the least. And I'm curious to see if they're going to wait till after the draft or not to do this trade. Because if they wait till after the draft, then the Jets get to keep one of their first-round picks, and then they would probably end up trading, it sounds like 2 first-round picks for Aaron Rodgers, but maybe trade them after the draft so they get the 2024 and 2025 first-rounders instead of this 2023. But over to Luke, he's kind of mentioned this a few times now, but Aaron Rodgers, face of the franchise for years for the Packers, and now he's gone, it looks like. He pretty much just said he's not playing for the Packers once he comes back after his Hobbit hole retreat.
Yep, he was either going to retire or go to the Jets, which I don't know what's better, because him just retiring and playing only for the Packers would be really, really cool. Because not a lot of people, like even Tom Brady, the greatest of all time, didn't do that. He went and played 3 more years with Tampa. So to see like a player play his entire career with one team, it would be really, really cool. But at the same time, if we turn to the Jets, we're going to get at least 1 first-round pick and some more assets in return, that could help build our team.
Definitely.
So I don't really know which one is the best scenario. But for me, if Rodgers gets traded to the Jets, I will be adopting a new team. The secondary team, I should say. Because I've never really had to think about this. Yeah, I've never had to think about this. Am I a Rodgers fan or am I a Packers fan? Because my entire life, it's just gone hand in hand. The first NFL game that I really started, that I, fell in love with the Packers was Super Bowl 45. And it was mostly because of the play of Aaron Rodgers. So rooting for the Packers and rooting for Aaron Rodgers has just coincided my entire life. And now that, there's going to be a separation. So I don't know what to do. But I am an owner of the Packers, so I feel obligated to, continue to root for them. And I do like the Packers still. I like Christian Watson. I like a lot of the guys on the team still, and I have that connection with them. But it's still good. Aaron's my guy, And so I do get lucky that they're in different conferences. So I could have like the NFC team and an AFC team because they don't play each other. So I can root for both unless they make it to the Super Bowl, which both the Packers and Aaron Rodgers make it to the Super Bowl is an impossible scenario. So I'm not going to have to worry about that. In a world where both of those things happen that it just doesn't happen. So I won't have to. Looks like I won't have to worry about them playing each other. So I can root for both of them, and I think that's what I'm going to do. I think I've made up my mind on that, is that I will just be adopting a second team, which could be fun. So
I don't know what I got to do to help get you on the Jordan Love train. Why don't you want to be on the Love train?
I do want to be on the Love train. I have to see more. I have to see more. I agree. I think he can be good.
We all have to see more, but I kind of want to, leave the station now and get on the train now while we still have time.
Cam, here's the thing. The Packers had a Hall of Fame QB for 15 years in Brett Favre. They drafted a QB in the first round late in Brett Favre's career. That QB also is a Hall of Fame QB. Led us to a Super Bowl, Aaron Rodgers. They drafted another QB in the first round late in Rodgers' career. So, what are the chances that 3 in a row happens? What are the chances? What are the chances that Jordan Love ends up being better than Aaron Rodgers?
The chances of it
They're
happening
not high.
I don't know. The chances of it happening a third time, if you saw the zip on his ball in that Eagles game, just pointing that out.
It was 1/4 of a blowout. It was garbage time. It doesn't count. It was good. It was promising. Don't get me wrong. It was promising to see that. That was the first time that I had seen anything really positive out of Jordan Love ever. And so that makes me actually okay with this, being able to let go of Rodgers. If I didn't see that from Jordan Love, I would just be in ultimate pain right now, because what I've seen from Jordan Love in the past is not good. That gives me hope. It gives me hope for the Packers. Trust me. I do believe that. There's just I've seen so much of bad Jordan Love that I can't get on the train yet. If he has a great year this year, trust me, I'm fully on the train. I have to see it. I have to see it first.
Is it all of Jordan Love that's in your brain? I feel like maybe some like Brett Hundley and Deshaun Kaiser are rubbed off in your brain too, because they all kind of look alike in terms of skin complexion.
Oh,
so I think maybe that probably has an effect on you as well. Just saying.
It does, but also I watched Jordan Love start a game. I've watched him in the preseason. He's not good. And you would think he would be more mobile and more of a dual threat guy. Really not. He's not as mobile as you would think. He's nowhere near a Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes level. I mean, he's not immobile like a Kirk Cousins, but he's definitely not mobile. And that may be just, complexion as well, that you would think he's mobile, but but he's not. He's a rocket arm type of guy. He has potential, sure, but I don't know. I have to see it.
And back to your point just a moment ago, you said, what are the chances that it happens a third time in a row in terms of a Hall of Fame quarterback? I think there's actually a higher chance that it happens a third time in a row than it leaving the pattern and not happening, because
Okay.
it's doubled up, so it's bound to triple up since it's doubled up. Otherwise, the pattern would just be weirdly broken. And he had a Hall of Fame quarterback in front of him. Now, even if Rodgers wasn't always super teacher-like to Jordan Love, he was still a disciple in waiting. So I think that's going to help him. I think
it will.
I'm in on Jordan Love. I'll say it. And
All right.
if it backfires, I have no loss here. It will be funny, but I'm in on Jordan Love. That's all I really got to say about it.
And that's the thing
Representing the
why I'm
Mountain
not
West.
getting in. That's why I'm not getting in on Jordan Love, because it can backfire for me. So, that's about all the NFL free agency talk. That's what's happening. Jimmy G signed with the Raiders. That was another big one.
Oh yeah, and
that we
all
forgot to mention.
the brothels in Las Vegas have offered Jimmy G free sex for life. So good for him.
I saw that. Good for him. Very handsome Italian man.
Yes.
Yeah, that's about it for NFL free agency. Not as eventful as it was last year, but last year was like an all-time eventful NFL offseason. So we still got a ways to go. So it could be more eventful, and it probably will be. But
that's not even
Jackson.
We did not cover everything. Like I said, we're just dropping some bigger name guys. I mean, like if you're a real, pigskin guy, you probably know C.J. Gardner-Johnson from the Eagles. He's a Lion. The Steelers stole Isaac Seumalo, I think that's how you say his last name, from the
49ers.
Eagles. 49ers signed Javon Hargrave, big defensive
From the
tackle.
Eagles.
Deron Payne re-signed with the Commanders, stuff like that's all happening. Although one mystery thing that we just popped up today is it appears that that Lamar Jackson might have an illegal agent named Ken Francis that's been circulating the internet. So that's an interesting story to follow as the days go on here. The Lamar Jackson sweepstakes are still very much open. So, yeah.
Ken Francis. When Adam Schefter said that this guy named Ken Francis has been like secretly texting teams about Lamar Jackson, all the comments were just filled with like Lamar wearing like the disguised glasses and big nose.
Yeah.
Which is just funny. But
which he doesn't even
at this
need a
point,
big
why
nose.
doesn't he just why doesn't he just hire an agent?
Well, he just did. Ken Francis.
Oh, true. Ken Francis. Cam, if it's COVID,
Paxlovid, baby.
Dude, you got to finish it. Okay. There we go. If it's COVID, Paxlovid. That's the story of the tournament so far.
Yeah.
So just remember that if it's COVID, Paxlovid. NFL free agency. World Baseball Classic.
Segments World Baseball Classic.
All right, I like that. So this week we're doing Say Hello, Kiss It Goodbye. I have absolutely nothing written down, but I do have stuff saved on my Twitter. So, Cam, you got it first.
All right. My Say Hello, and this is a big one. Austin Reeves, the white guy for the Lakers that has been kind of going crazy lately for the Lakers in a good way, playing really, really well, the best basketball of his NBA career. But Luke, this has become a bigger story because he is like the NBA's propaganda machine. They have this one white guy who's doing really good right now, and the NBA and NBA on ESPN, they're all just hyping the shit out of this guy, and all you see on the timeline is Austin Reeves, and it is becoming pretty wild. And then you have, Butt Crack Sports, Ball Sack Sports. They're all jumping in on it and spreading all kinds of fake news about how Austin Reeves is likely to get a max deal in the offseason and stuff like this, and how the one I saw last night that just made me laugh really hard was I think it was Ball Sack Sports. I think that they tweeted that very well could have been Butt Crack Sports, though, too. Those two go hand in hand. Well, I guess not hand in hand, but they said that the Lakers are going to be looking to move on from Anthony Davis and plan on building around Austin Reeves instead. So, hello to Austin Reeves taking over the NBA. So yeah. And my Kiss It Goodbye is sleep. And this one's interesting because it has nothing to do with the time change here, losing an hour. This has everything to do with those really dumb but really freaking funny presidential AI videos where is Joe Biden Donald Trump and Barack Obama just hanging out, playing video games, going to Dairy Queen, going to the McDonald's drive-thru with Drake, doing tier lists, all kinds of stuff with the presidents. And the AI for this stuff is getting so out of hand. It is so ridiculously good. It's gotten to the point where I've started to lose sleep about it. And just because I've been staying up way later than usual watching these really dumb videos on YouTube, I've started to subscribe to multiple accounts called Presidents Play, play video games pretty much. People keep sending me all kinds of different ones from TikTok, which TikTok is actually on the hot seat, literally on Capitol Hill.
Yeah, true.
But so yeah, these videos have been keeping me up because I literally cannot stop watching them, and they make me laugh so much. The only downside about these presidential AI videos, and I've been talking about this with my good friend Jacob Michael Baldwin, because we have a shared interest in these videos, is just that it's not real. In real life, these guys just absolutely hate each other and want to tear each other's heads off. Specifically Biden, Trump, and Obama. Those guys really hate each other, or hate Trump at least, and Trump hates the other ones. But in the games, man, I mean, yeah, they make fun of each other so much, and it's so funny, the jokes. Sleepy Joe saying Michelle is a man and just calling Trump a fat ass and stuff like that, and making fun of him how he doesn't have a second term. All this stuff is so good. And they're just bros hanging out. And then you snap back to reality, shout out to Eminem, and they just, they in real life, they just hate each other. They would never be gaming with each other. They would never be going to Dairy Queen together. And so it sucks to see that when you come back to reality and they're not just gaming, playing Minecraft together, trying to defeat the Ender Dragon. Yeah. So,
if only the world would revolve like that.
Yeah. And then my other people would just do that. My other kiss of goodbye is winter. See ya, bitch.
Agree. Couldn't agree more. Love that. Today was so warm. It was so unexpectedly warm, but then it started raining. So
yeah, then it cooled off, but still warm.
Yeah. All right. I guess that leaves it to me. My first say hello. Oh, let me get to my bookmarks. God, I keep clicking the wrong button. Is strength of schedule. So strength of schedule talk, because Iowa State had the toughest. They were number one in strength of schedule. They had the toughest schedule all year. They put up 41 points in the first round and lost. First round exit to Pitt. Fairleigh Dickinson, on the other hand, had the least toughest schedule. They were 363 out of 363 out of all the Division I teams. Had the easiest schedule, and then they proceeded to go out and beat Purdue. So, I mean, we always talk about how teams are battle tested. I think that it might be time to just wash that down the drain, because it obviously doesn't mean anything.
Well,
and then some more.
Sometimes you get in too many rock fights, Luke, and you get banged up. So, but one thing about Iowa State is they literally played that game like they played when they played Mizzou. Just awful shooting.
Yeah.
So yeah. And then one thing about Fairleigh Dickinson, you said they had the easiest record. And it's kind of a side knock on them. They had the easiest record. Their record overall, I'm sorry, they had the easiest schedule. Their record overall was not very good either. I mean, I think they won 20 games, but I think they actually had a palindrome record of like 21-12 or something like that. So,
I think it was worse than that. I'll look it up right now.
It was just not very good. So.
Northeast Conference, Fairleigh Dickinson finished 21-16.
There you go. That's 5 games above 500.
They didn't even win their conference.
No.
They didn't even win their conference. And then my other say hellos, this is kind of a grouping effort, is new coaches on campus. So if you are on the campuses of St. John's, Providence, or Georgetown, congrats, because you have a new coach. St. John's hired this. This is the guy that we've been looking to see where he's going to go for a long time. Rick Pitino. He is back. He's back at St. John's in the Big East, where he belongs. St. John's has not won a tournament game in my lifetime, so they need that to happen. Rick Pitino, in my opinion, might be the perfect guy to get the job done there. And Georgetown, that's Ed Cooley, former coach of Providence. He has long been known for loving Providence, but he also loves money, and Georgetown has a lot of that. So he is now at Georgetown. Georgetown also trying to come back to relevance after the Patrick Ewing disaster. I don't even think you could put it in a different way. The only positive that came out of that 3 or 4 year tenure was a Big East tournament win. I mean, if they didn't have that, they would have absolutely zero relevance. I mean, they're a 1 seed in the sickos bracket. That's not where you want to be. So,
well, and John Thompson was a shitter. No offense to him.
Who is that? I don't even know who that is.
John Thompson, he's the coach.
For Georgetown?
Yeah.
Patrick Ewing was the coach. What?
He was just the coach at Georgetown.
Before Patrick Ewing?
I think so, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not what I'm talking about. But he sucked it. But Patrick Ewing, really, really bad tenure. So Ed Cooley, he brought Providence out of the dead. He revived them, brought them back to relevance. Georgetown hoping for the same. And then Providence then in turn has a coaching opening due to the Ed Cooley loss, and that is going to be Missouri's own Kim English. So former Mizzou basketball player. He's been coaching at George Mason University for the last 2 years. He is going to Providence. So congrats to him. And it seems like a lot of great coaches get their start at George Mason for some reason.
Larinaga.
I do believe Rick Barnes started there. Huh?
I thought it was Larinaga. Maybe it was Rick.
Larinaga was there for a long time. He took him to a Final Four. Rick Barnes, I think, was there. Maybe Shaka Smart was there. No, he was at VCU. He might have been at George Mason too. But George Mason, kind of like a buffer, like a good stepping ground for a lot of these coaches. So Kim English will get his chance in a Power 6 school, Providence. Congrats to him.
MIZ.
And then my kiss it goodbye is a few things. So Phillies first baseman Rhys Hoskins, non-contact injury. He just tore his ACL. He's out for the year. So KFC Barstool, I guess we should just ban spring training because, these guys, they can't be running out in the outfield tearing their ACLs, I hope that every single team has a star player that gets hurt because Rhys Hoskins tore his ACL. So a little bit of a KFC moment there, if anyone knows what I'm talking about. And then just another kiss of goodbye. Twitter hidden replies because they have gotten way, way out of hand. We send them sometimes to our group chat, just like, oh, that was a bad one. Just tempting everyone in the group chat to look at the hidden replies. And some of them are really bad, but I've been on Twitter long enough that I'm numb to most of this stuff. Like, it's just, oh yeah, that's weird people on Twitter, But I saw one last night that was, I think it was last night. It might have been 2 nights ago. It was, I'm not even going to talk about it, but Cam knows exactly what I'm talking about. It might have been the worst thing I've ever seen online. It made me shriek. It made me shriek. And so I'm done. I'm done looking at hidden replies. If someone sends a hidden reply to me, I'm blocking them. I'm blocking the account. I'm just not looking at it because they've gone too far. Hidden replies have gone way too far. So if I was Elon Musk, I would just take that option off. Just delete the hidden reply because it's like a secret. It's like a way to pin something. It's like a way to pin a comment is put it in the hidden replies. Which is like what if hidden replies? it's supposed to hide the replies, not like pin them, but it has the opposite effect.
It's freedom of speech. You can't just get rid of it. Where do we draw the line for freedom of speech after last night?
You can get rid of the hidden replies button, right?
I have no idea.
Like you can just have regular replies.
My question is to you, which one made you shriek more?
Which one do you think, Cam?
I don't know. There was two of them that were bonkers.
I don't remember what the other one was. I'm going to look it up real quick because we cannot talk about this on the air because it was horrific. It was horrific.
I kind of want to talk about it on the air.
Well, you go ahead. I'm not going to engage in it. I'll mute you. It was terrible. Oh no! I forgot about that one. That's what it was. Oh yeah, that was. Oh. Why did you have to remind me about that, dude? All right, if you want to talk about it, go ahead.
I watched the whole thing of the other one. It was
of the two guys.
I think it was three
or the knife one. Oh,
I watched both.
Guys. I watched. I opened that one for like 2 seconds, and I instantly turned it off because it was so disgusting. The other one I watched the entire thing, and that was the one I shrieked at. But
yeah. I will say, hidden replies they're top tier right now. In terms of like how bad they are. Yes, they are. In terms of how bad they are, this is towards the top.
That's true.
Now, there was another time, 2020, when COVID hit, hidden replies were something else there, too. I don't know if you remember that. It's been 3 years now, but hidden replies back then in 2020 were really bad, too. So, they're back. So, yeah, I don't know if that was your say hello or kiss it goodbye because they are back.
That was my kiss it goodbye.
Oh, yeah, you said you're done.
That was on my kiss it goodbye for me.
That's totally not true. You are not done opening them. I don't believe that.
I want to be done opening them.
You are not done. That is for sure. If there's one thing that's for sure tonight, it's that Luke is not done opening hidden replies. It's the most tempting thing in the world, especially when your friends send them and say, don't open this. I advise you not to open this. Do not open it. You will hate yourself. Do not open it. I'm going to open it. That's just how you roll on Twitter. And that's how you have to roll.
That's true.
So yeah.
And then another thing I just wanted to mention is that there was a college baseball game. San Diego University and I do believe that is Pacific. So West Coast Conference baseball. San Diego scored 9 runs in the inning, and the ball never left the infield. Just because Pacific they were bunting constantly. Pacific couldn't make a play. They were just error after error. So it was a sicko moment. Just wanted to shout that out real quick.
Yeah, I saw that on Sickos of Summer, which it will be the account to follow going forward as we begin our journey into baseball season. So.
But speaking of baseball season, close out the show here, a little World Baseball Classic talk. It was awesome, to say the least. It was about 2 weeks long, and it had the world engaged, to say the least. Japan was on top of the world. They won it all, beat the U.S. in a close final game. I think I saw a stat like the final was on 90% of Japanese TVs. And actually, there was a thing that they printed off so that Japanese employees could hand it to their boss, because the game was at like 7 o'clock in U.S. time, but in Japan that was like 8 or 9 in the morning. And so there was something that I think the Japanese government printed out so that people could hand this certificate to their boss saying, I'm going to be late to work today. I'm watching the baseball game, and it had to be accepted. Like that's how big this game was for Japan.
That is amazing.
It is amazing.
That's how it should be for the day after
and
the
like
Super
all the bosses
Bowl.
understood, because Yeah, the bosses are like, oh, yeah, I completely understand. I'm watching the game, too. Like, that's how big baseball is over there. Shohei Ohtani's amazing. Best player, maybe ever. Maybe ever. And it was awesome. But the whole tournament was awesome. There were so many moments. Trey Turner just took over in so many games. All of these teams, just to see guys going out there playing for their country. It even got Cam hooked, and Cam is not a baseball guy.
Yeah. And maybe I'll add that to the say hello here real quick. I have done this the past 2 years and have failed really bad each time, and a majority of the blame should go to the NBA playoffs. I'm gonna try and watch baseball this year, Luke. We'll see how it goes. I always start off strong with opening day in the first few weeks. Every year, I start off strong, and then it weeds out pretty fast. I'm going to try it again. So we'll see how it goes. Year 3, new mindset, grind set. Here we go. I'm going to try and watch baseball. So just putting that out there. I might be enjoying your fantasy baseball league. I'm thinking about joining your fantasy.
We still have an open
league.
spot.
All right,
we have one open spot left. I'll invite you.
I don't know how fantasy baseball works. I don't know how you even draft. Like, do you draft every position?
Yeah, pitchers, everything. I'll kind of walk you through it at a later time, but yeah, if you want to join, you can. So, one spot left. Hopefully, everyone's active. It was fun last year. We didn't do any money or punishment last year because no one had ever played before in our league.
If there's a punishment, I can't do it.
At the beginning.
If there's a punishment, I can't do it. I don't know anything.
I don't think we're going to do a punishment. We might do money this year, though. But last year, we all because it was everyone in the league's first time ever playing, and so we agreed at the beginning, no punishment, no money. We're just playing it for fun, just to see how we do. I ended up getting third, so not too bad. Yeah, baseball is back because it was awesome to see the World Baseball Classic. Baseball on the world stage, and it's officially back in 2026, so we only have to wait 3 years instead of 6 this time. So,
hell yeah.
Shout out to them for that. So we hate COVID for what they did. Took away a World Baseball Classic from us. And also, another news is that Lars Nootbaar and Ohtani are like best friends now. So a lot of people are speculating he's trying to recruit him to St. Louis, which, as I think you mentioned, if Bill DeWitt saw what Ohtani wanted, he would probably have a stroke and die if he just saw that amount. So, yeah, I don't know what to say. He's probably not coming to St. Louis because we can't afford him. But it would be so
we can
awesome.
afford him. Bill's just got to drop a bag.
Bill has to grow some balls here.
That's up to him, though. My big question:
Ohtani's going to get $500. He's going to get $500 million. He's going to get $500,000.
He should,
dude.
If he can keep it up. Oh. All right, Luke, once again, just passed away, I guess, technically, in terms of his internet connection. But yeah, Ohtani should get $500 million, and we'll see what happens there over, I guess, the next year or two. So yeah, that's pretty much the show. Thanks for tuning in. We'll continue to post our picks graphics on the Twitter as we continue on through the tournament, and have a great tournament. So yeah, thanks for listening to episode 55, and have a great